Once again, thanks for talking to us.
Thank you, Alan. Nice to be with you.
Tell me about your new network, something you're new. I think it's very exciting because you're using the digital media in a way that very few people have. So tell me what's coming up.
Yes, well, I did have some spontaneous success with the digital media and the internet, during those campaigns. They seem to be even ahead of what I was doing and understanding. But since I've been out, there's been several people approach me about doing some type of programming on the internet and have an internet channel, which gives you a lot of flexibility. So I've gone with a group that set this up, and we'll have our first program on Monday.
Oh.
And that's ronpaulchannel.com.
So are you going to host? I'm sorry, ronpaulchannel.com. Are you going to be hosting a show?
Yeah, I will be, and we've been working hard at it. And it's even though the internet is wonderful, there's still complicated things to work out. With a little studio here in my hometown, as well as the other half of it being out in California.
Yeah, but you're going to do it from home, I guess, right?
Well, in my hometown, yes, and that makes it nice. And the other thing, this should make you envious because I don't have to worry about timing.
Well, there are all kinds of different rules on the internet, and that you don't have to run by the clock.
Yeah, if we estimate 30 minutes, they say, I said, what if I have an interesting guest? Oh, you can go 40, whatever you want. And of course, there will be charges for it, which means I don't have to go and get the advertisers.
And do you have a big staff programming it? I mean, how are you putting this whole thing together?
Well, the company that's doing it, I think they have. I keep seeing the number of people that they have, doing, promotions and the technicians and all that. My guess is they must have 20 people.
What's the company doing it?
It's called SPN, and it's a young group. And somebody said, "Well, they're young." I said, "Yeah, I think the young people understand this system better."
Well, actually, it's the young people, the younger people, who really know coding and the in and out of the internet much better than the older generation, right?
And it's to appeal to young people too. It's going to be most people are going to be reading and listening over a handheld device, which is. One of the waves of the future, and you see some of the changes. It looks like our newspapers are in big trouble. So,
well, you just had the Washington Post just got sold to Jeff Bezos. I mean, who thought that would happen? Is this a libertarian outfit that's doing it?
No, not actually. They didn't quiz me, and I didn't quiz them, and it was sort of a judgment call on whether I could work with them and whether they're capable people, and that I found out that is the case. So it's if I'd have checked them out to find out if they were all libertarians, I probably would have had more trouble getting started.
Yes. Did you approach them, or they approached you?
No, I had. Matter of fact, I had a choice. There were two and a half at least that approached me, and I did decide on this group. So
I think it's a great way to go. I mean, no matter regardless of ideology, it's very smart of you to be doing this. And without your assistance, it seems, when you ran in 2008 and again in 2012, there was a great surge of interest on the internet about you. What do you think accounts for that?
I really don't know, because the first time I discovered it, I was so surprised, but I was glad about it. And when I asked the people who would join us, and be spontaneous supporters, sometimes they say, "Well, you're the only one telling the truth." When they were looking at all the other Republican candidates, and I think they were looking for straightforward answers. I think young people in particular are a little bit concerned about their future. And a lot of them have debt, and they like to hear a different answer. Actually, Alan, I think it's one of these things where you and I can talk on some of these issues, and this whole approach to war and civil liberties and all, I think that made young people think, well, this is reasonable. He can talk to people instead of me selling out in order to compromise with you. It was talking to people without selling out and without making fun of those people who disagreed with me.
The younger generation of people who may be fiscally conservative and socially more liberal really don't have a political party to go to.
No, and that's it. And right now the system doesn't allow it to happen very well. If you happen to belong to a Green Party or a Libertarian Party, you knew about me making that effort, and it's very difficult. You don't get into the debates, you don't get the credibility, but you do get the credibility where they're more independent-minded, and that's on the internet. Of course, that led to a lot of frustration, because we had a lot of spontaneous support, but it wasn't necessarily translated into getting into into all the debates and things like that.
I think of myself as a libertarian. I don't know if that means anything, but
Libertarian.
a libertarian. Did you happen to see the president's news conference today?
I saw part of it. Matter of fact, I just happened to be walking through and tried to catch up on it since then. But I was walking through when he brought up the subject of the appointment to the Federal Reserve Board.
Right, and you'd like to see the whole board go away, the Federal Reserve go away.
No, they said, who are you going to vote for? And I said, I'm going to vote for none of the above.
Right. But he also talked about a surveillance policy overhauling the FISA court, the government being more transparent as relates to national security, ratcheting up the debate over the balance between the spy programs and our privacy. I would think that might have perked up your ears a little bit.
Yeah, that sounds well-intentioned, but he hasn't convinced me yet. You'll have to help me get convinced.
Yeah.
But, he said that it's working fine without the reforms. That's not the problem. We're not spying on people. He's probably still taking that position. But he said, how can I make the American people feel more comfortable? Well, I think there's more to it than making the people feel comfortable that he can assure us. Well, we're collecting stuff on it, but we're never going to use it. But this whole mess hasn't started with Obama. You remember J. Edgar Hoover?
Sure.
He collected a lot of files too back before he even had a computer.
And how about Richard Nixon?
Yeah, Nixon did it. It's the nature of big government. It's one of the reasons I don't like big government is they want to know everything about everybody else, and they feel very threatened if you expose them. I mean, they have to work in secrecy, whether it's the Fed or the foreign policy or whatever. It has to be in secret because they feel very, very threatened. See, some of this stuff that's been released, it really hasn't damaged us, but they don't like to be embarrassed. They don't want our allies to know that we're listening to them as well. That's sort of embarrassing to them.
One of the things the president said today was that he doesn't think Edward Snowden is a patriot. I'm guessing you would disagree with that.
Yeah, I do. I think he knew exactly what he was doing, and I think he knew the risk, and I don't think he made any money off it. I don't think he did it to give it to our enemies. They said, well, he's treasonous because he got this, and he's given it to the enemy. Well, he gave it to us, and I just think there are some people in Washington that think that we might be the enemy if we know everything that the government is doing. But I really believe in true transparency, and I believe in privacy for the individual, and I think it's been turned on its head. I think the government is so secret, and we have lost our privacy. But I think the American people have reached a point of frustration, and they think they've gone too far.
Do you think that our relationship with Russia is compromised because of what's happened with Snowden, and should it be compromised?
No, it shouldn't be. I mean, Alan, it was, not too many years ago when I was in the military in the 60s, our presidents talked to the president. I mean, just think how Kennedy talked to Khrushchev.
Right.
Just think of how, even during World War II, how we allied ourselves with Stalin. And they had all these weapons and all these threats. And yet, today, we're not going to talk to them over this. And, what one has to do is compare how we would have responded if somebody asked us to extradite a person. They say we are really tough, and Obama is really tough. He does not allow these people to be extradited. Right. At the same time, they're making a big deal of this. I'm for openness. I want to talk to people. I think Nixon, as bad as he was, I think one of the lasting benefits was him talking to China.
Right. Who else could have done that? We only have about 30 seconds left. Your son Rand is going to be here Tuesday in our studio. He's going to be in New York. Anything you'd like to say to him? Or me to ask him?
Oh, no. I'll call him up if I have anything to say to him. I'll call him up and tell him, check out the studio. Maybe it was that studio I was in with you back in 1988.
No, in a different. That was Rockefeller Center, right across the street from that. Dr. Paul, thank you so much. Appreciate talking to you.